Welcome to the CE Pro podcast. I'm Executive Editor Arlen Schweiger. This week, our Bob Archer checks in with his Audio Guys panelists, integrator Paul Bachner of Electronic Concepts, Alex Kamara of Audio Control, and Steve Silberman of Savant, as they give their 2022 audio industry forecast. Good news is the category is booming, but supply chain and chip shortages still pose some problems. Here are the panel's perspective on how the industry can overcome such challenges and continue with the booming market in this week's podcast. As always, be sure to subscribe to CE Pro's YouTube channel and hit that like button on our videos, or subscribe to the CE Pro podcast on Apple and Spotify and leave a review.
Hi, I'm Bob Archer, Senior Editor with CE Pro Magazine, and today we're back with the CE Pro podcast with another Audio Guys episode. Now that we're in early 2022, February to be exact, we want to try to forecast what's happening on the audio side of things in the custom install market and look at some trends that could be developing. As normal, we have the Audio Guys panel. Paul, how you doing today, Paul?
Yeah, can't complain. How are you, Bob?
Great, thank you. Steve?
Good morning.
And Alex, how you doing today, Alex?
I'm good, Bob. Thanks. Good to see you.
Thank you. Let's get right into this. As I had said a second ago, we're about a month into 2022. With that being said, do you think there are any trends developing that you see that could shape the year in home audio? And we'll start with you, Steve.
I think I don't see any new trends. I just see a continuation of the trend. We were supposed to all be back in the office by now, and that's just not happening. So it's home. Paul, you can speak to this probably better than anybody because your feet are on the ground. But people want their houses dialed in more now than ever before. So the systems are getting more refined. They're more elegant and easier to use. And when I look at what's selling in the Savant store in terms of product, it's a healthy balance of cost conscious, high performance for the money kind of product. But we are just rocking with our high end offerings like Arcam, JBL Synthesis, and now JBL Pro. So I just see more audio finding its way into people's homes, and the backyard. The backyard is just huge.
And yeah, Paul, how about you from the dealer side?
Yeah, I agree, Steve. It's like Steve said, it's kind of the same trend is just moving upward. You know, it's nothing new. It's just, I had some notes on this, and it was like performance, everything is still moving forward, right? It's people are still home, people are still spending on their homes, and they have more money to spend, and they're willing to, to go to that next level. So, and they're willing to wait, which is the crazier part of it. Even though, we have issues getting things, performance is just going through the roof, and it's immersive theater. We sold 3 DACs last week, and we're talking about DCS. These are extreme luxury items, right? These are very expensive items, and this is just, I'm home, I want to use my system, I want the best quality thing I could put in the system. That's, it's perfect timing for this, and it just keeps moving forward. So I think, my message to the integrator base is, if you're not, really trying to push a little harder on this, you're missing the train, and you're doing some of your customers a disservice, because people are looking for the best product they can get right now. So offer them the best product.
Yeah.
Alex, how about from your perspective? Not only do you obviously do home theater with your processors and AVRs, but you have new products like the CM series. Are you seeing anything?
Yeah, I would agree with pretty much everything that Steve and Paul said. I certainly also think that the level of sophistication that people are willing to put into their homes now is way ahead of where it was a year ago. We're seeing not just the price points going up, for the dealer and the ability to sell higher end projects, but also the consumer is willing to accept, I think, much more steering into a more sophisticated, more upper end, more higher res, more immersive solution. And not just in the theater, but also across the whole house. I think in the days of, I'm sort of settling for just a home theater upgrade are changing. We're seeing projects where dealers are coming to us with, not just 7 pieces, but 16 pieces, across the home. The outdoor area, despite the fact that it's winter, right, is just booming. To your point about 70 volt, the 70 volt solutions that we've just launched, literally are going out of the door as fast as we can build them. And it really is, as you say, I think it was Paul that said, the outdoor area is just on fire at the moment. And I think a lot of people also, you're in the middle of winter, you're looking forward to the spring, you're looking at your landscaping thinking, I want that ready for May or April or wherever you are in the country. I think also the other piece I would say is that the media rooms and home theater is exploding at the moment still, that continuation. And the price point is what I'm saying. The price point is going up, okay? And Paul, to your point, we're seeing dealers that were, in one band of pricing less than 6 months ago, already transitioning to a much higher price. So, and then the last thing I would say is, I think the streaming providers are creating a ton of demand for us. Certainly Netflix is in the lead there, but the more home content we're getting, that's changing the ecosystem. It's not just COVID, it's what the streaming providers are doing. And unfortunately, the theater companies are paying the price for that a little bit in the main theaters.
Okay, you guys.
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead,
Bob.
Steve. Oh, Paul.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
sorry.
Paul. Just something to tag on to that too. It is actually kind of a new trend that we're seeing, and it tails onto this whole convo. Is since, like Alex said, pricing just keeps going up, right? Some of these products, especially the luxury products, are actually becoming investments. I have a customer that bought a pair of speakers 6 months ago that's worth $8,000 more than it was, when they purchased it. And like that's something very interesting that I don't think our industry has seen in a while, where your gear might actually retain value versus, losing value. So it's something to keep an eye on, especially since, I know I have a customer waiting for a pair of speakers for 6 months now. And if that continues and people are trading or trying to get a hold of these things, you may start seeing high end or hi-fi or, even speakers become something that you're buying just to, as an investment purpose.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I see.
I was going to say that's something you think about more in the pro audio world, in the MI market. You go out and buy a Les Paul or something, you're not going to lose money on a Les Paul or a nice Martin acoustic or something like that. You guys have also provided me the perfect segue into my next question about the luxury market and the increasing prices that seem to be developing in the home theater market as a result of people looking for screening room level quality systems. Exactly. Are you seeing this with your businesses, and how far do you think the market can go in terms of meeting these luxury demands that homeowners have for these Ferrari type of systems in their homes? And Alex, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think what's been interesting is I think there's a whole new level of consumer that has found the custom market, and whether that's through referrals, whether it's through doing more research on the internet, the customer base is increasing. I think where it was a certain level before, that is broadening. And by the way, on both sides of the market, particularly also on the $1, $2, $3 million homes. And I think that's clearly expanding the CEDIA area. We're seeing certainly on our home theater side, as you talked about before, the price point going up, but also the level of sophistication and understanding as to why being so important. High-res audio is driving that, as you said, streaming is driving that. But I think, the consumer's looking for a full house experience now. And again, it's not just, the luxury, really high-end consumer, it's broadening the market at the moment, definitely.
We just did a design last week for a project in New York City where the homeowner, the client themselves, was adamant that we figured out a way to do immersive. They wanted height speakers in this, and it was all angled ceilings. There was no really good way to do it. We went up using JBL pendants in conjunction with JBL synthesis product, because it was the only way to get the height speakers on the plane where they needed to be because of how unique the shape was of this room. But the fact that clients are now asking for immersive, it's a big deal, right? And we've got a bunch of other projects we're working on where it's me and people from synthesis in conjunction with the interior decorator, in conjunction with the architect, the Savant integrator, and the homeowner. We're all on a call together, brainstorming how can we make this thing sound sensational and look fantastic.
Yeah, and I'll jump in and say too, I think to answer your question, Bob, I don't know if it's going anywhere fast. I hope not, but it doesn't appear to be slowing yet. And on the consumer side of things, it seems like the customers are willing to give us a little more real estate than they have the last few years, right? Where pre-COVID, it seemed like we were trending more towards the built out media family room over the dedicated theaters and screening spaces. And now I think it's flip-flop completely. It may just be our market, but we're seeing more and more. And like Steve said, customers are actually asking for immersive by name. I think that's good and it's bad, because I think, the customers that don't really understand what immersive is and they just want more speakers instead of a quality system, now we have to kind of educate them into, hey, don't spend, everything in your wallet just to get more speakers, but at least it's giving us a conversation to have, right? And an opportunity to educate, which is, something we all want.
There's also, what's really fascinating, a snowball effect happening. You think about the number of projects that have increased in the last 2 years, obviously due to COVID originally, and therefore the number of homes that have been impacted in the last 2 years. And then you see the number of people visiting those homes and saying, right, how do I do this? So there's actually some snowball that I don't think is going to go away anytime soon in the next potentially number of years, so I think that's an interesting piece as well.
Yeah, and it's not just the ballistic home theaters that are doing well. Our most successful product right now in audio, the most successful category we have is what we call the smart audio category, which is our smart audio soundbar and the WiSA subs and surrounds. The sales on those have just been going bonkers, and I'm sure other companies in that price category are doing well in that. It's not just us. So these big awesome home theaters, these dream theaters are definitely, this is a consistent trend, but it's home theater at large is doing really well.
And I would emphasize with that also multi-room audio, the whole house solution has changed now, also because it's not just the families who are at home, or it's the kids. So you're seeing this whole house phenomenon really growing. The number of DSP director amplifiers we sell these days compared to 2 years ago, and the number, put it differently, the number per home, that's what's fascinating. People are not necessarily content with just doing their main floor, their main living room, or their media area. They're getting the whole house spec in a much higher percentage than I've ever seen.
Yeah, and game rooms too, right? Immersive game rooms is something we're getting a lot of calls on, right? Same category, but I actually prefer it because it just opens up so much more opportunity for cool stuff, for lighting, for just different solutions. It's definitely an exciting time. And I think that, like you said, when the kids are home now, we don't want the kids in the theater if we want to watch a movie. So now we got to build the kids a room, or they got to have a space to do this. So
we actually we had 2 clients, Paul, in December, who put the Maestro processors that we have into almost dedicated game rooms. And the reason they did it was because they didn't want the kids in their own room gaming. They wanted to have the kids with them gaming. It was pretty.
Yeah, it's exactly. I mean, we just did one. It was a ultra short throw, because it was just like a lounge for the kids, but it turned into an ultra short throw with 2 side TVs. I mean, they wanted to make it so cool for the kids. There's USAI and Savant lighting all over the damn place. The ceiling glows, the shelves glow in the room. I mean, that's what I mean by opportunities, right? It went from like, hey, we need a surround system to game. We need side TVs. We need surround processor. What other cool stuff can we do? And then it turned into like, I mean, we did this giant acoustic wall on their ceiling, because they don't want to hear the kids now in this room that they've just built for them. So we have to treat it. It just, I mean, not only is it a cool project, it's a money-making project, but it's something like we get to work with all of our vendors on, and we get to give these kids and this family such an amazing system. So I hope that keeps trending that way.
That's an interesting point you bring up too, Paul. 3 years ago, if we had said the crystal ball tells us we're going to be consulting with the children of the homeowner on system design, would you believe that?
It's nuts. And I gave somebody had asked me, one of the industry mags was asking me about this gaming room we just did, because we had posted a bunch of pictures about it. And my interview conversation was like, every answer was ask the kid, ask the kids, ask the kids. I don't know. Like, I don't even know some of the things that they're looking for when it comes to resolution, and like, actually I called Donaher from Meridian, because Ryan's really into gaming and he knows these kind of things. But like, I had to ask the kid, and say like, hey, what is it that you're looking to accomplish with this? And even though I think I try to stay cutting edge on tech, he wanted something that was outside of my understanding. Like, he wanted to game at a specific refresh rate and move from his monitor. And I'm like, okay, tell me, let's figure it out. So yeah, great point, Steve. No, I don't want to typically talk to the kids. And now it's part of our success, right? It's having to be able to deliver what they need.
They signed the contracts now.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting times.
Um, all right. Now I'm going to throw a little bit of a wet blanket on the previous question and the optimism that you guys were displaying. And this may be maybe the most important question I ask you of the entire year. And this has to do with the supply chain and chip shortages. Do you see these issues continuing to impact both manufacturers and in turn dealers in 2022? And we will start with you, Steve.
Yeah, it's going to continue. There's actually, yesterday I found the Federal Reserve Bank of New York has a global supply chain pressure index now. So they're using this as part of their calculus for their monetary policy. You can go there, you can find the link and you can go to it and you can see where the pressure is. And right now, pressure on the global supply chain is only slightly lower than its peak in December. So we don't see any abatement there. And so you've got there's 6 things you're dealing with. You're dealing with logistics, production delays, which logistics ties into. And then, something that, Alex and I deal with is there's a limited number of third-party vendors. Like there's only a small handful of third-party vendors, like say for the architectural speaker business. There's hundreds of brands, but only a few vendors. And so there's a lot of pressure on those few. The really good vendors are under a lot of pressure, and that's hurting things. And then you've got commodity pricings just swinging all over the place. What you pay for a chip today and what you pay for tomorrow, what you pay for it next month. It's a moving target. And you got workforce and labor issues. So there's 6 things that are all kind of like intertwined, and they're all going to be challenges for 2022.
Alex, how about from your perspective? Glass half full or half empty?
Well, I'm always a glass half full person, but at the same time, Steve's not wrong on his assessment there. I think a couple of things that we're seeing as well is, we're starting to see a little bit of respite on container times at the ports. So container times that were sort of anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks sometimes in the last sort of month, or last say 2 or 3 weeks, have gone down to about 4 weeks. So that's a plus for getting containers through the system. It's still 3 times longer than it was pre-COVID. The other piece for us in a way is we're shipping the majority of our products today still because we're able to build here in the United States, and that's obviously a theme that Steve and I talk a lot about that because we supply some product for Steve and so on, and the fact we fly parts in means we can fly parts and not necessarily wait for containers. So that helps a lot because you're flying 400 widgets in as opposed to 400 big boxes. So that's one of the things that we're now saying, that it still increases the costs, it still increases time, it still increases a number of areas, and it's very complex to get that right, but obviously that as a manufacturer, and literally we're making the product here, as Bob, you've been here in Seattle, is a big challenge, but getting the parts in is the biggest thing for us. In general, I think we're seeing the chip issue lasting into, certainly as I think you said, Steve, the 3rd, 4th quarter, and probably in many cases into next year. What we need to see is the government continue to put pressure on the supply chain so that the supply chain itself doesn't try and profit more than it needs to from this for a longer period of time. I think that's a key piece. But we're in a reasonably good position. But I can tell you now, my team is working 12 hours a day trying to get the product in, and I know Steve's in the same boat that we're in that respect. So.
Yeah, we're doing a good job of managing. I mean, Paulie, you don't have to shamelessly plug us, but I think our inventory has been overall, it's been pretty good through all this, and I think so is audio controls.
Yep, same here.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's some manufacturers are certainly dealing with this astronomically better than others, right? And some are not their fault, and some are, just out of control. I would say, yeah. By the way, Bob, thanks for throwing in the depressing bomb into this. It sucks, right? And it's going to continue to suck. That's the way I'm going to put it. It feels like it's still getting worse, although we feel like it should getting better. Again, some manufacturers I think have really pushed through, and Savant is definitely one of them, right? And we're blessed since we're 1 day away shipping in Jersey from Hyannis, so I don't really have any complaints. I would say this, the only thing I could really say is to the manufacturers, and I'm talking to two that get this, so this is really to, anyone else that's watching or listening to this, is you just need to be upfront with us. Like no matter how bad the scenario is, you need to be honest. What's happening is, yeah, it'll be 10 weeks. Fine. Customer might be okay with 10 weeks, but when 15 weeks comes and it's another 5 weeks and we're just hearing about it at that point, that's not good for anyone, right? Especially in the luxury space. Some customers, if you tell them 6 months up front, they're going to be like, man, this is the coolest thing ever. I got to wait 6 months for this amazing product. And they will be okay with that. Honesty is the key here. And if you don't want to burn the bridges with your integrators, and you don't want to burn the bridges with your customers, because that's where it's going to end up if the honesty portion of this doesn't succeed, the whole thing is going to fall, right? And the companies that we're doing good with are the ones that are honest with us and give us realistic answers. The ones that have played games, I could tell you since COVID started, personally, I've cut ties with 5 manufacturers. And all 5 of those ties were cut because they just couldn't be honest with us, and had they chose a different way and not tried to be slimy about the way they were doing business, it would have worked out, so honesty is key here, no matter what keeps happening. Just, let's work together on it.
I agree with Paul 100% on that. The other thing I would say is what we're seeing, and this is a trend we've seen for the last few months, certainly, and it's increasing now, is the dealers recognizing what Paul's saying and also giving us more notice. They're saying, okay, I need these 4 receivers, Alex, I need these 6 directors, I need these, on May the 15th. Now, you go back pre-COVID, that wouldn't have happened. We get a call or an order a week before, and we ship it straight away. So we're also getting more dealers saying, listen, I want to give you more visibility, I want to give you more planning. And to the point where a dealer said to me, when we started seeing this trend happening, what I don't want to do is place an order that I need in 3 months' time and you ship it next week. I got to pay for it now, blah, 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 blah. Some would like that because they just want to get the product in. But what we're seeing is them saying, I need an order, I need it on May the 15th for this project, as Paul just said, right, please ship it on April the 27th. I'm just guessing dates there. So that's also helps us a lot in the planning ahead.
Yeah, and I have some dealers that buy a lot of a certain type of product, right? And so when I see inventory starting to get shaky, I'll email or call those dealers directly and say, hey, we've got like 35 of these left, and I'm not going to see the next shipment until May. And I know that this is this is what you like to put in systems. I think you should order a few, and dealers really appreciate that.
Steve, is interesting. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the manufacturers that are doing that are doing the right thing, right? By themselves and by us as integrators. Like that's helpful to the greater good. If we saw more of that, like Steve saying, I'm sure Alex is doing the same thing. It would, we're not always thinking about like, oh, I need to order subwoofers for these 5 jobs that I don't need for 2 months. But if someone called me and said, hey, we're going to have a shortage on amplifiers for those subwoofers, order the amps now and we can get the back boxes later, things like that. That's the info we need, to take the stress off of the manufacturer also and say, hey, we'll take what you have and we'll place the orders now. It kind of,
it's just good business.
The world go around.
Yeah, it's good business. And like the last thing I want is Paul calling me on a Friday night and yelling at me because something's not in stock that he should have known about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
And some dealers are bringing product in. They're bringing. I'll bring 5 4-zone directors in. I'll bring 5 8-zone directors in. I'll just have them. So I can react. If they want to. So some are also, as well as planning better ahead, they're also just in time is not a word that a dealer today should be relying on. At the moment.
We see the same thing with our SIPA amplifiers. Are some of our most popular products. Probably the product you sell the most from us, right, Paul?
Yep.
Is SIPA 50. Or SIPA 1.
Yeah, we would stock. We'll stock some of that stuff. There's some things in the world right now you're just not going to get. So, lighting components. I think lighting components is the worst thing. Right. I think I have lighting modules. I think I have 300 modules on order right now between various companies because they're just going to take so long, and we can't. If you don't have a surround processor or a speaker in a room to finish somebody's home, like okay, they might accept that. But if you can't make their lighting work when they move in, that's not going to go over so well. So like You just got to do it. And I don't want to do it. I don't want to pay a company and say, hey, I need all these things I might need in 8 months from now. But I also don't want to be the guy that can't turn somebody's lights on, you know? So we're really trying to focus on what can we get now, you know? I don't care if it's on the shelf. I'd rather have it than it be 6 months out of warranty than not have it.
All right, guys, for my final question, I want to bring this back around to something fun and a question I asked you back in December. I'd like to make this a regular question for you guys. So I'm going to put you on the spot again. And over the holidays and through the first month of this year, are there any demo pieces of content that you're currently into and would like to recommend to listeners or even watchers, viewers of the CE Pro podcast? And Paul, why don't we start with you?
So yeah, I'll give Steve some props. I did go watch the new Ghostbusters movie after our last thing because I was offended by your disgusting comment that it was the best one ever, because you don't talk bad about 80s movies like that. I will say it was phenomenal. Like, it was phenomenal, and it is a great demo content. So if you haven't seen it, Steve knows what he's talking about. Watch the new Ghostbusters movie. It was
okay.
Incredible.
So I'm gonna take latitude and I'm gonna recommend another demo movie. So right now, this is the 4-year-old child index in my house. Captain Underpants. If you haven't seen that, absolutely a must demo for any showroom.
I don't know if I'm going to take that advice on that one, but I don't know.
Well, fair enough. But it's a good one.
Yeah. So the Ghostbusters one is great. If you haven't seen it, do that. It's not new, but I love this movie for demos. It's on Netflix, called Six Underground with Ryan Reynolds.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's like there's a car chase scene like in the first 5 minutes that is visually and audibly just stunning, right? I mean, they got this like super green Alfa Romeo running through the streets of Italy. It's amazing. I love it.
You gotta watch that one.
It's a little graphic, so just be careful who you're demoing it in front of. And then music wise, I just got turned on to this like young kid who's a jazz piano player called Joey Alexander. If you haven't heard of him, he's got a new album called Under the Sun that is, I think, came out last year. It's phenomenal. It's like piano, upright bass, you know, really kind of progressive. And I've been listening to a lot of Eat the Elephant by A Perfect Circle, which is one of their last albums. It's kind of like, it's very mellow. It's not hard rock for A Perfect Circle, but recorded phenomenally. That's all I got for you, Bob.
Okay, and Alex.
Well, we've been, since last time, just listening to a ton of stuff, and obviously the demos we do. I would throw in there Aaron Jones. If you haven't heard from him, a young, just rock guitarist who is just setting the world alight at the moment, touring around the world. Some of his pieces are just incredible. I would go Tash Sultana, who's actually touring this year. Tash Sultana is an incredible. We love
amazing.
Yeah, she's incredible. And when you put her on a fully immersive system, just or 2-channel even, right? She blows me away. And then we've been listening a lot to this was through a recommendation from a client. Some of the Chainsmokers, Don't Let Me Down, and some of the Chainsmoker songs, which are just tracks, which are just great. So I would do that. And the other one I would throw in, which some wouldn't expect, but I think she's amazing, and on a demo is really cool, is Billie Eilish. Ocean Eyes is just a stunning track to demo with. So there's a few that excite us.
So I got a few too. I throw in there besides Captain Underpants. The new Raikuder Taj Mahal. Right now there's only a single out, but later this month the full album comes out. I'm just a huge Raikuder fan. I love everything that he's done. So that's an absolutely phenomenal blues album. There's another, if you like more of a modern, younger bands, there's Nation of Language, A Way Forward. It's just been an absolutely spectacular album. We can't get enough of it around my house. And this is kind of a funny revisit. I went back and started listening to a lot of Pete Yorn, which is, he's from your neck of the woods. He's from Chatham area. And he's got a couple of albums with Scarlett Johansson, where'd that come from? They're really good. Kind of a torch song, those albums. So.
Awesome. I'll throw my 2 cents in. I've been really having a lot of fun with Peacemaker on HBO Max.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's not something for the kids. It's DC. It's not Marvel, but a lot of laughs, a lot of violence, but it's been a fun series so far.
The most awesome eagle you've ever seen.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to take part in the latest Audio Guys podcast. And I look forward to speaking with you in a few weeks for the next episode. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, guys.
See ya.